Good evening and welcome to TDM Talk Show. The International School of Macau, commonly known by its acronym TIS, is celebrating its 15th anniversary. And coming as a birthday gift, TIS has received International Baccalaureate World School status for the diploma program. Meanwhile, the school's expansion project is underway. With the new academic year just around the corner, we are joined by Howard Stribbell, head of school at the International School of Macau. Mr. Stribbell, thank you very much for joining us, for coming to the show again, and welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me again. It's always an honor to be able to come and to share the great things that are happening at TIS and the cool things that our kids are doing.
And there are some, I would say, great achievements. I was just mentioning this fresh news, the recognition or the fact that TIS has received IB World School status. What is this all about and why is this important?
Yeah, this was a project that we've been working on for a couple of years to achieve accreditation with the IB diploma. So the International Baccalaureate Diploma is a curriculum that is used in nations around the world, and it provides a very high standard, very highly rigorous program that is recognized by universities around the world. And it was a very special for us. As you said, it's 15th year coming up this new academic year. We also achieved our accreditation on July 1st, which was Canada Day, and it was Canada's 150th birthday. So I guess the theme of birthdays is really ringing true here. And we're very excited to have the IB diploma as part of our overall high school diploma.
So you're saying that this somehow enhances and further projects TIS's status as an international school, international recognized, right?
Yeah, and the IB program that we're going to offer is in year 11 and year 12. It's a 2-year program, and it will be in addition to the Alberta program that we already offer. So the Canadian curriculum that we run is very rigorous already, and a lot of people think, oh, if you have IB, then it'll help you get into university. And that may be true. In our case, it won't help our students get into more university or get into university because our students already get in, let me say it this way, 100% of our students already get offers of admission to universities around the world. So why the IB? You know, if 100% is already going, then why do you need this? And what I think parents are looking for is choice. And as parents, we all want to give our students or our children the best advantage that they can have going into the world. Whether that's to be successful or to find happiness or to achieve those things that they want to achieve. The IB program will be a program that's offered to students who want to sign up for it. They will do it in addition to our Alberta program. So those students will still do the Alberta program, and then they'll do the IB program at the same time. It'll be very, very rigorous. And what we think it will do is it will better prepare them for university. The work that they have to do, the internationalization of it, there's a high degree of independent work that they have to do. They have to stay very organized, keep track of many things. They do some very, very cool cross-curricular things. The extended essay, a course called Theory of Knowledge, which is very fascinating. It's like a university level kind of course. These things will help prepare them even more so to be ready for university. So we're pretty excited about that.
You were saying that 100% of high school graduates do further their studies to tertiary education institutions, to universities. Where are they going?
Yeah, they don't all end up going. They all get offers to go.
Offers to go,
but some end up changing their mind. You know, we have someone who launched a modeling career and someone who became a dive instructor. And then we have a couple of students who do their Singapore service as well. But they go around the world. To date, we have had 250 different universities and colleges provide offers to our students. This past graduating class had over 8 million patakas in scholarships provided to them as well. So they go everywhere. A lot of people think, oh, you're a Canadian school,
so most of them will go to Canada.
In fact, majority of our students are going to the UK This is a trend that we've seen shift over the last 2 years. I think part of that is because the UCAS system allows kids to apply once, and they get offers from many different UK schools. Our students also go to Australia. They go to North America, Canada, and the US. And then more and more students are also choosing to stay in Macau and to go to Hong Kong as well.
Talking about curriculum and curriculum development, just a couple of weeks ago, the Macau SAR government, the Education and Youth Affairs Bureau, published the new basic academic skills for high school students in a push that is being regarded as moving towards incremental standardization, at least to some extent. What is your take on what you've seen in terms of the goals that was put forth?
Sure. You know, when we first came, there was no curriculum, and so parents were looking for other types of curriculum that could come in and be accredited and provide a program for children. Now that DSEJ, the Education Department, is implementing a curriculum, I think it's a good thing. First and foremost, it's good to ensure that all children in Macau are achieving a certain level, a certain standard, and having a national curriculum will allow that to be monitored and ensured. We were very worried, how's this going to fit with our Canadian curriculum? How does this fit with the IB curriculum? And I can say
it's compatible, right?
It is, yeah. I'm very impressed. The government has done a good job in keeping the learning objectives general, universal, and allowing schools the freedom to show how they're meeting those objectives. And so we're able to work with the government and articulate how our Canadian curriculum and how our IB curriculum meets those learning objectives. There's always a couple of areas that are special to a country. And in Macau, one of the things that we have to do a better job of approaching is on the moral and civics curriculum. We have that embedded in our curriculum: character development, leadership, health programs embedded throughout our curriculum. And we have to make sure that we're very explicit on how and when we teach those, and to share those with the Education Department.
So you see enough room for a school like TIS to keep its own distinctive features while at the same time meeting the goals, right?
I think it does. I certainly hope it continues that way. I think that the parents expect that to happen. I think parents have invested in their children's education, that it's very important that parents have options and that they can make choices. I think the government has been explicit in bringing in other schools and schools that have been developed by special interest groups for specific reasons. As long as they allow the flexibility within there so that we can still show that we're meeting those requirements and still have our way of doing it, then I think it'll be fine.
TIS is not part of the public schools network, but you do receive also some support from the Education and Youth Affairs Bureau, and also, of course, you are part of the local community, I would say, for sure. But my question has to do with you are not part of that network, but at the same time you are also encompassed, of course, in the local education system. Where do you fit in this?
Yeah, so we're part of the private non-tertiary schools within Macau, and there's quite a large number, probably a fairly higher percentage than in many other jurisdictions. And that's just because of the historical development of education within Macau. So we receive partial funding from the Education Department. First and foremost, our parents receive a government subvention that they get contributed to them. We are also able to apply for the school development plan on an annual basis. And this is a very unique funding structure that a lot of jurisdictions don't have. And I think the Education Department should be applauded for this, because it does allow schools to innovate and develop programs on an annual basis that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So that was always been a key part of our development as a school. we're also able to apply for funding for inclusive education students, small class sizes, a few things like that as well.
And talking about inclusive education, that is something that you have been keeping a close eye on and you've been focusing on. And I would say that it's seen as being highly cherished by TIS. So what is your approach to inclusive education? This is a concern for many parents because there are different formulas, approaches. What would you single out?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we're very connected to the community. We view ourselves as a community school, and we want to be able to educate the broad range of students that are within our community. We believe that creating a community of learners such as TIS should be reflective of society. And in society, there are students or children, adults, people of different abilities. And we don't want to be a school that only accepts the best and the brightest and then pats ourselves on the back when they all achieve these amazing things at the end of graduation. And I think we're able to accept a broad range of students. Inclusive education is something that all of my teachers have been a part of. I've been involved a lot of in Canada. And we see it, the emphasis is on inclusion. And that means that we accept students with different abilities and we provide them with the support and structures that they need so that they can be successful in the regular classroom. And that means that they are in with other normal-bodied, normal achieving students. And all of our teachers have had training on how to meet students' needs. And we also have a very, very robust inclusive education department with specialist teachers and also specialist therapists. So we actually provide behavioral therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and some of those services are offered to parents that may not even be inclusive. So for example, we may have a child who has a speech therapy issue or a speech issue, but they don't really qualify as an inclusive education student. But we will actually hire speech therapists from Hong Kong to come in and provide service for this school.
That is special education, and they have to be followed probably in some cases on a one-on-one basis.
No, that's a continuum. So on a continuum, you would have special education, you would have inclusive education, and then you would just have students who have some deficiencies or that may be able to be corrected. And no, it's funny, not funny, but I mean, one way of looking at this is 4 boxes. Special education, inclusive education, normal students, and these other students who maybe are struggling. In reality, we need to get rid of the boxes and realize that education is everyone's responsibility and that kids fall within that continuum. We work as a school in trying to give students those supports and structures that they need wherever they fall on this continuum so that they can be successful. That being said, we don't do special education because we don't do pull-out. We don't have a segregated classroom where students that are in wheelchairs or have mobility issues or other very, very high needs. We can't meet those needs, but we are able to meet a variety of needs. When we do this, though, we're very, very thoughtful about it. We look at the child's needs and our ability to meet those needs or not meet those needs. But we also look at how many needs are there in that class and in that grade level as well. Because you may have one grade level that only has a few inclusive students, but they're very high needs, and it's using up all of their resources. And in another grade level, we may be able to have more inclusive students because their needs are not as severe, and we can share our resources across that way.
And talking about inclusive education, in the coming few months, you are going to hold some high-level conference, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do 2 things about this. We run an Inclusive Education Academy already. Last year was our first year. And what we do is we bring in guest speakers and do workshops for teachers and community members to come and learn about different things that would help education. So how do you help students with reading abilities? How do you help students with adolescence, getting through adolescence? We did a very interesting one on social media. What are kids doing on social media? And what's your role as a parent? And what's the school's role? So this was a great thing. And you know who our speakers were? Teens. We brought in students. Oh. We just had a panel of students come and talk honestly to their parents and to everyone's parents and teachers about what they do or don't do and what they want or expect, and it was a fabulous thing. So we do this with inclusive education, and we're also hosting a CENIA conference, which is Southeast Network for Special Education, Southeast Asian Network for Special Education. And we want to invite teachers, administrators, parents, community members to come and talk to us about inclusive education. We do some things exceptionally well, but we want to learn more. And so the CENIA conference and our Inclusive Education Academy allows us to do that. Let's sit around, let's talk about what works, what doesn't work. What are the resources in Macau? Where are we weak? How can we supplement that from Hong Kong or Singapore or wherever? And let's talk about these things because it really matters to kids. You know, all kids deserve to have an education, and they deserve to be able to achieve a level of excellence. And whatever we can do to help do that, then we want to be able to facilitate that as a school.
So what you're sharing with us would probably be something way different from certain perspectives or views or perceptions that TIS is, well, to a great extent, a sort of elitist school.
Right, right.
I'm sure you've come across this question,
Absolutely.
this issue a number of times. What's your answer when they say, oh, you're the head of an elitist school?
Right, absolutely. There's definitely this idea that we're an elite school. I would say we're an elite performing school. Our students achieve excellence, but that doesn't mean that we only choose from the elite. Obviously, the cost of tuition is a factor for some families.
Probably one of the reasons.
That being said, I think we offer an exceptionally high quality education for the price that we charge for tuition. If you compare it to Hong Kong, we're half the price. If you compare it to China and the mainland, we're a third or a quarter of the price. So, but our students are very high achieving. You know, when 100% of your students are going on to university, wow, that impacts the conversations that happen in classrooms, that impacts the expectations that are on kids. And you know, we're able to do sports and fine arts. And so when we say high performing, it's about excellence in many different areas, and it's not just in one area. But we do exist primarily to provide an English education for children who want to go to school overseas. University, go to university overseas.
English education, this leads me to the issue of the student population, which I would say the lion's share, well, we're not talking about English native speakers, right?
Absolutely. 75% of our 1,200 students do not speak English as their first language. And so that means, first and foremost, every teacher at TIS is a language teacher, is an English teacher. And we have a very robust English language learning department who, again, gives our teachers the tools and strategies they need to help students be successful. We teach language across the curriculum. It doesn't matter if you're in phys ed class, chemistry class, or out on the playground, there's going to be an emphasis on language development. We're doing a very good job. My teachers work exceptionally hard, and I'm very impressed with them. When we look at our results, PISA test results, our results on our grade 12 graduation exams, which are the same across the province of Alberta. We write the same exams that students in Edmonton and Calgary write. And we also conduct a Canadian achievement test for all students from grades 3 and up every year, our students are outperforming their peers across the board. So, and that's all being done in English. So even the PISA test scores, which are very important to Macau, and you know, I think Macau has been achieving greater and greater on the PISA test scores, which is a great testament to the schools and teachers that are in Macau. But our students are doing it in English. It's not in their native language, but they're still achieving very high.
Talking about language development and teaching, let's say Chinese and Mandarin, you have been focusing on Mandarin since the very beginning. What's your approach? Because this is, of course, always a contentious matter, and there's been the talk of the town, especially among many local Chinese families, Cantonese vis-a-vis Mandarin. You've been focusing on Mandarin since you opened. How committed are you to Mandarin, and what is your approach to teaching Mandarin?
So you're right. We've always had Mandarin in our school. It's always been the official second language, and it's been very important to our families that their children be educated in Mandarin. And the way we do that is that our students receive 6 periods of language a week, of Mandarin language, and they learn simplified characters and traditional characters. And students go into a class based on their ability. So you might have a foreign student who just arrives in Macau. They're going to be at the very beginning level. You're going to have those foreign families that have been in Macau for 4 or 5 years and been taking Mandarin. That'll be at a different level. We're even going to have some Cantonese speakers who are above those ones maybe, but they're not at the same as like a fluent Mandarin speaker. And we have those students as well that are basically doing advanced language arts programming in their Mandarin classes. So it's the whole gamut. We've tried different combinations. We want to make it as effective as possible. One of the coolest things we're doing right now is in kindergarten. And so even in kindergarten, they start learning Mandarin. But we have some students in kindergarten who only speak Mandarin, some who only speak Cantonese, some who only speak English, some who only speak German or Polish or whatever. Kindergarten teachers are a very rare breed. They do a fantastic job. So what we did is instead of having a Mandarin class, that's just 40 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is, we have the Mandarin teacher come into the classroom and stay there for the full day. And it's not every day, but a couple of days a week. And then when the kids are doing their regular things that they do, we have a play-based learning kindergarten program. It means that maybe the water center today is going to be done in Mandarin, and the Mandarin teacher is going to be there helping kids do the water center. And the costume dress-up center is going to be done in English. And the kids that are playing on the laptops or on the smart board, they're going to be doing that in English. But the students over here that are working on sequencing and patterns, they might be doing it in both English and Mandarin at the same time, whether it's learning colors or it's learning the shapes. And I really want to see this expand into our younger grades as well. So we start seeing overlap between Mandarin and English. So it's a much more natural way to learn the language. Now, I have to make a confession though.
Go ahead.
I've been in Macau 11 years. My biggest regret is that I never learned Mandarin. And it really is inexcusable. You know, in the early days, 11 years ago, most speakers were Cantonese, not as much Mandarin. And so you were able to, you said, oh, I can't practice enough. But in reality, you know, I got lazy. It's too easy to use English.
And there, the number of English-speaking people is increasing by the day, right?
Yeah, and I shouldn't have. And, you know, I really encourage everyone, learn Mandarin. If you know English and Mandarin, wow, the opportunities in Asia or in any part of the world is going to be phenomenal.
Talking about allocation of resources and investment, your take on e-learning and new technologies, how far are you going to becoming and to embracing a paperless classroom model?
Yeah, I mean, e-learning, paperless, let's just call it 21st century learning. Wow, you know, think think of where we are now, how we conduct our personal lives, you know? If we don't have our phone with us, we feel lost. There's so much power in the phone or in a device, whether it's a tablet or a laptop. So at TIS, we run a one-to-one laptop program. All students from grades 7 to 12 bring a laptop with them to school every day. And it can either be a MacBook or a Chromebook, which is a more economical format for it, if you don't trust your 12-year-old to take care of a laptop back and forth. But actually that being said, the kids have been great. I think they take ownership in their laptop, and it's something very special to them because it's very powerful for them. So all of our textbooks from grade 7 to 12 are digital. We have the hard copies, and kids get the hard copies and they keep them in their lockers. Sometimes maybe they take them home, but all of their textbooks are digitized, and they can access them on the cloud at any time that they want. So if they go home, it's not, oh, I can't do my math because I don't have my textbook. It's like, no, you just hop on the cloud and then there it is. We also use a number of learning technologies at the school. Our social media is very big. Learning platforms are very big. I'd like to say it's about being innovative, and I think we are very innovative, but I think every school should be doing this because that's the way that the world moves now. If our students graduate from high school and they haven't been learning on digital devices, they're going to be at a disadvantage when they get to university, and they're going to be at a bigger disadvantage when they get to the work world.
Yeah, of course, you do need the adequate software for that. Let's now move on to the last topic of our talk, which regards hardware, facilities. I was mentioning at the beginning that the school's expansion project is underway. It's actually phase 2 will be up and running in a couple of weeks. Is that right?
That's right. We actually had some classes move into it over the spring. It's already
taking place, right?
So construction finished in January, and then the administration offices and the high school moved in this spring. But this September all classes will be moved into there. And so our new building is what we call the North Wing, which is an additional 11,000 square meters. And it provides classrooms for kindergarten and high school. Not usually two that you would put side by side, but those are our two extremes in our K-12 program. And so kindergarten needs very specially designed classrooms, and high school as well needs very specially designed classrooms. So we took this as an opportunity to create those classrooms. Inside those classrooms, we got some very cool things. So for example, kindergarten, we take our pre-K, which is 3 years old, and our JK classrooms, which are 4-year-olds, and they're paired together. 2 classrooms side by side with a washroom, toilet in the middle, and a collaboration space in the middle, and a door in the middle, connecting door, hallway in the middle. Because, wow, you know, what's the difference between a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old? Or what's the difference between a 3-year-old, 11-month-old, 3 years, 11-month-old child and a child who's 4 years, 1 month old? You know, because there's 30 days or 60 days difference, we stick one in one class and one in the other grade. But developmentally, they're only apart by 60 days. So by putting our pre-Ks and JKs together, kids and teachers have a lot more opportunities. So our 3-year-olds have nap time every day. But what if you have a 3-year-old who's not napping anymore? You know, they used to just have to lie there and be quiet. Well, now
it's not hard. That's not easy.
That's not easy. Now they come across to the 4-year-old classroom, and they can just be engaged and work on what the other 4-year-olds are working on. We do play-based learning, so it works well. And if you have a 4-year-old who is tired that day or is still having naps, they can come across and have a nap in the 3-year-old room. So it allows a lot of opportunities that way.
Would also the expansion, would this allow you to go beyond the current figure in terms of student population, which stands at nearly 1,200?
This will actually, while this space is increasing our square footage, it's doubling it to almost 20,000 square meters. We're only going to increase student capacity from where we are now, 1,200 to 1,600. 1,600 will max out, and I think that's more than large enough. Because within our north wing, we have other very specialist spaces as well. We have, I'll put it out there, I think the single best library in Macau. It's an amazing library. You walk into it, it's 2 floors, it's solid glass walls. It's like a cube floating over top of the bus parking. And we kind of modeled it after the Apple Store at IFC. So it has that kind of look to it. And when you walk into it, you're like, wow, this isn't like a library that I went to school at. This is like a university library. The primary library is on the 1st floor, and it's meant for teachers to bring their classes in and to have very unique spaces. There's a little stage where they can have a storyteller or be acting out something. There's little collaboration spaces. There's little nooks and crannies where kids can grab a book and just read. Literally bookshelves that have been turned into benches so they can climb in there and read. We've got little honeycombs, kids climb into them and read. And then you go up a floor and you're in the secondary library. And that space is set up for small groups of students to collaborate together. So kids are in there before school, after school, and they're working in projects and working collaboratively. There's 2 little glass breakout rooms where they can work. They can have a quiet study time where they can work. Some really neat things. Our lockers, so we talked about electronics, technology. A lot of teachers are worried, well, if kids are bringing all these devices, how do we handle it? How do they charge it? All of our lockers at TIS, for our new lockers, are all powered. So kids can plug their laptop in, plug their phone in, charge them, lock their door, it's safe. They go off for phys ed, which they probably don't need their laptop for. Maybe they wish they did. They can charge their devices that way. And then very robust Wi-Fi system, electronic whiteboard systems going on. Yeah, a lot of neat things in that space. We also have a new black box theater.
Oh yes, that's right.
That's going to be fantastic. It's going to be used a lot during the conferences. It'll be used for assemblies, classroom presentations, and it's very basic. It's four walls, all black, a lot of lighting that we put in there. We designed it so that kids can be in charge of the lighting and the sound and be involved in it. We're hoping to be able to do some studio work just like this with some green screens and things like that. So we're looking forward to having that for our students as well.
Now, one last question. What's next? I remember a couple of years ago, I remember you saying of a sort of a dream of a multi-campus plan or project, meaning going beyond the current campus that you have just next to the Macau University of Science and Technology, having another campus elsewhere. What about Hangqin? I mean, how are you looking at the integrated development of the Macau SAR?
That's a very good question, and it's something we've been looking at over a number of years. You're right. I think last time we talked, we were looking or sharing that there may be possibilities of a Hangqin Island campus or something like that. We need to come up with something. A lot of families think, oh wow, you have a brand new building, you must have more classes now, and you can accept more students. The reality is, our kindergarten classes are maxed out. There's huge waiting lists. We can't add any more physical classrooms. We anticipated the dragon babies, and we added classes to meet that need for families and for Macau. But we did that knowing that we'd be moving into a new building. So we added kindergarten, we added grade 1s, grade 2s, and now that we have this building, this will allow us to accommodate those students as they move through the system. But we won't actually be able to add more kindergarten classes. So there's a need. You know, we have so many students who apply to the school, and we can't.
What is the ratio? I mean, of acceptance. Well, I mean, the proportion of students which are accepted in regards to those who apply. 1 to 10, 2 to 10.
Yeah, it's 1 to 5.
Oh, 1 to 5.
It's about 1 to 5. But you also have to take into consideration, when you have 1,200 students, that's a lot of siblings. And if the more children that families are having, I think 2 years ago, for example, we had 90 spots in kindergarten, and I had 72 siblings apply. So that left, about 18 for the public. It doesn't mean that if you're a sibling, you're automatically going to be accepted. We do give you priority, but so it's almost becoming self-fulfilling now, and more and more children. So we're looking at options. I don't know what it's going to be yet. We really don't have anything on the drawing board. I think it's clear that TIS is doing exceptionally well. Parents are pleased with the results. Students are going on to university. I'm really excited to see more and more of our alumni graduate from university and come back to Macau. And now they're investing and beginning their lives here in Macau and becoming part of the workforce here. That's very exciting for us as a school. And I'm interested to see where that goes in the future.
And perhaps next time we have a talk show on TIS, we'll have some news about some future plans. Who knows? Right.
Let's see how it goes.
Thank you very much, Howard Stribbell, for joining us. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot. And to you at home, thanks for tuning in. TDM Talk Show will be back in September after a 1-month summer break.